The following is a short vlog introducing the issues faced by the LGBT community in Japan. This video contains information from my own knowledge and experiences studying abroad in Japan, and is not meant to criticize Japanese society, nor is it meant to be a complete representation of Japanese attitudes towards the LGBT community. Last year, thanks to the Gilman Scholarship's generous support, I was finally able to realize my dream of experiencing Japanese culture firsthand. I studied abroad at a university called Kansai Gaidai, and for my follow-up project, I decided that I wanted to discuss Japanese attitudes towards the LGBT community and the issues that the LGBT community faces. If I were to ask you whether or not you thought Japan was accepting of the LGBT community, what would you guess? Maybe you might think about the tradition of loving boys in Japanese history, as well as male-male relationships between government officials and military leaders. Maybe you might even think of yaoi and yuri manga. At first glance, it may seem like society allows for these kinds of relationships. However, because of the importance the Japanese place on the family unit, and family in society, these relationships actually have no place. How is it that a group of people can be part of a culture but not really accepted? If you can't have children, your relationship is considered illegitimate. So many of these homosexual relationships are merely extramarital or hidden from society. What about adoption? It's not impossible for a same-sex couple to adopt a child. However, they can only be registered under one parent's koseki, not the other's, so the child is not legally recognized as the couple's child. What about lesbians? Well, Japan, for starters, is a patriarchal society dominated by males. Like America, women are only paid a fraction of what men receive for the same amount of work, meaning that it's very hard for women to make ends meet and support themselves. For whatever reason, lesbians are hardly represented in the media, so the problem is not that they are being misrepresented by the media, it's that they aren't being represented at all. Also, the lack of lesbian bars and exclusive lesbian clubs and groups is surprising compared to the surplus of gay bars. In Japan, there's this thing called a koseki, or a family register, that has all your personal information, your details of your birth, your marriage, your family, lineage, and adoption. They are a person's official documentation and identification and must be presented to the employer. So you can see how that could make it difficult if you are a transgendered individual seeking to get employment, because many of the okama on television have already gone through sexual reassignment surgery, and many Japanese citizens either can meet the necessary requirements in order to get the sexual reassignment surgery, and two, they cannot afford it because it is very, very expensive. Changing your gender on your koseki is actually very hard to do, because in 2008 the Japanese government passed a law dictating that you must be over 20 years of age, unmarried, have no dependent children, and non-functional gonads, and lastly, you must have had the sexual reassignment surgery in order to make your genitals look like the sex you desire to be listed as on your koseki, meaning you have to get sexual reassignment surgery. That may seem simple enough, but unless you can leave the country and go somewhere where it's legal and have your surgery performed, shelling out thousands of dollars, or meeting the requirements of 2 or more doctors to be diagnosed with gender identity disorder. I believe the main issue regarding Japan's attitude towards the LGBTQ community is that, simply enough, people are not educated about the issues. The General Consulate for Osaka, Mr. Linehan, in an interview, expressed a very similar opinion, saying, quote unquote, "There is no religion-based discrimination or hatred of sexual minorities in Japan. However, there is insufficient knowledge and awareness. The most difficult thing is to change people's thinking," unquote. So you can come out as a lesbian, you can come out as gay, you can come out as transgender, but if you tell people these things, will they really understand what you mean by gay, lesbian, transgender? Despite all of this, Japan's LGBT community has managed to grow stronger. Same-sex marriage in Japan is illegal. However, that hasn't stopped anyone, because in the past few years, a number of hotels and Tokyo Disneyland have held ceremonies for same-sex couples to get married. And even though they're not getting all the legal rights that comes with it, it's more of just in spirit. It brings hope to the LGBT community that maybe soon, one day, it will be legal and they will have the same rights as heterosexual marriages. If you're planning on studying abroad, I highly recommend you check out the Gilman Scholarship Foundation. They're a great resource for students who wish to study abroad but need a little bit of help to get there.